Hello, welcome. This is Philip Carr-Gomm. This is Tea with a Druid, number 151. Lovely to have you here, and it's Monday, the 9th of November. Hello from everybody piling in from Atlanta, from Slovakia, from Michigan, hooray, Aubrey, Texas, Nova Scotia, fantastic, France, North Germany, Rome, Saskatchewan. Lovely to see you in Spain and Canada and Broadstairs, good old Broadstairs in South Wales. So what exciting times we live in. Welcome, by the way, if you're watching the recording, welcome if you're watching this live right now. This broadcast is brought to you by the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids. And what exciting times we live in. There's the fantastic news about the election, which I think all over the world is being greeted with tremendous pleasure. And at the same time, the news today about a vaccine, which sounds very promising too. So that's really great to hear. So all in all, a good time to be alive at the moment, although there are many challenges facing us. So to celebrate the news from America, we have flown in an OBOD member from the States, especially to be here now. And the plane has just landed, and I'm about to welcome her here. I'm exaggerating and joking, of course. Roma Johnson will be known to some of you from her wonderful Mount Hemus lecture that she gave, which you can find on the OBOD website, and also from a previous session of Tea with the Druid. She's been quarantining in our little house in the garden, in our gnome home, as it's called, for 14 days. And we were very good. We handed her food at a distant arm's length. And after 14 days, she was released just in time for the election. So here she is to talk to you now. Roma, do come and sit down.
Thank you so much. Oh, hello, everybody. So happy to be with you again. My goodness, what a week. Whew. You know, Philip said I just came out of quarantine here on Tuesday, and on Thursday morning we went into lockdown. So I'm just here in this box and I can't get out. Anyway, I'm an American. So these last few days, weeks, but especially the last few days, we've just been subsumed with what ifs and prophecy and prognostication and polls and predictions and projections and what's the future going to hold. And it's still not totally over. And we spent hours and hours glued to the tube watching somebody move something across a whiteboard that had dozens and dozens of states marked with different colors, and you could touch the whiteboard and it would give you a new prediction. Or if you touched it over here, it would give you a new prediction, no matter how big or how small, whether it went up, whether it went down, whether it went to the right or to the left. And I started thinking about this. This is what we've been living through, is this uncertainty, and how we keep watching this to see if it will tell us what's going to happen. And it's still not over for us, but close, and happily close. So the idea here is that we just wanted to know, and we still want to know for sure what's going to happen. And it's not just the election, I don't think. I think it's the whole COVID thing that's happened to us this year. We've lost our future. And by that, I mean, in ordinary times or pre-COVID times, most people could think ahead at least a year. And they sort of had their year maybe planned out in their heads. Let's see, Christmas with mom, and then of course in spring break, we're going to Miami, and then we have to go out west for Georgie's graduation in June. And then this year, the summer neighborhood parties at our house. So we have that, and on and on and on. And we could see, stage by stage, month by month, where we were going to be and what our plan was for the year. We had little planners, if you remember planners. And we've lost that. We've lost that because we don't know. We don't know from right now here in the UK, we don't know what we're going to be doing or where we're going to be at the end of this lockdown, the first week of December. And so we've kind of lost our future. Now, I live in Princeton. So in Princeton, have been locked down since February, well, early March. And there's this sort of a miasma of anxiety where people just don't know what to think, and they don't know what to do, and they don't know whether their job's going to be there when this ends. Is this going to end? They don't know whether they're going to have money. They don't know whether they're going to be able to feed their children. They don't know whether they're going to go back to work or work from home. Or none of these questions are answered, and some of them are very dire and pressing. And what's going to happen with our healthcare? What's going to happen with schools? And we just don't have a future. We can barely think from lockdown date to lockdown date. Well, we'll be done by Easter, or we'll be done by June 1st, or we'll be done by 4th of July for sure, and we'll be done, and we'll be done, and we'll be done, but we're not done. And not only that, but we just can't see what's coming next. There's this rather facetious, half-baked business about whether it's going to be the return to normal, the new normal, the old normal, whatever. There isn't going to be a normal, but we don't know what's going to happen next. And so we don't have these magic for our lives. We don't have these magic whiteboards where we can just push a button and it will tell us, yes, this is how the trend is moving, and this is where it's going from here, and we can predict this, and this will be the answer. We don't have that, and we don't even have a semblance of that. So I started reading up on prophecy and thinking about prophecy and prognostication and how we're all looking for something in this regard. And I thought about in the olden times, we did it a little bit differently. So tonight I want to talk about augury, and specifically the augury of birds. You know, way back pre-Egypt, probably back as far as humanity has existed, people have wanted to read the future, predict the future. And they did it by augury, which meant looking to the natural world and looking for signs and omens in the natural world that would tell them the will of the gods. In other words, what to do next, or what's coming next, who will win the next battle, you know, when the kingdom will survive or not. And so they looked for omens, and they looked for omens from the sky. So they had like thunder and lightning, and usually thunder and lightning meant that God was either very near or very mad, depending on how you interpreted that. But a great thunder and lightning had great portent to it. Or it could be the augury of animals. You know, wolves and horses and foxes had certain characteristics about them and the movements of them, and whether or not you heard one moving or howling or it came near or far was an omen. But specifically, there were also portents, which meant unusual happenings, things that you wouldn't expect that just came out of the blue, like a comet or like a blue moon, you know, too soon or whatever, something like that that would happen unexpectedly. And that also had deep meaning. But what I'm talking about tonight is the augury of birds, because I just think that's a beautiful thought. So we're going to talk about the augury of birds. And the way they did this was they would look at several things. They'd look at which bird it was, obviously. And then they would look at how the bird came into the picture, whether it flew in from the east or flew in from the west, how it left, whether it left to the north, whether it left to the south. There would be portents and omens in the bird song that they would hear and when they would hear it. If someone was making a pronouncement and all of a sudden a bird song erupted in the near distance, that was an affirmation. They looked at the flight paths of the birds. I know that in Palestine, for instance, it's one of the greatest flyways if not the greatest flyway on the planet. And they have enormous capability of tracking and counting birds. Now, they don't necessarily look at them for prophecy, but they've been watching the birds for millennia. They also used to look at what they called the sacred dance of the birds. And when they meant sacred dance, it was how the bird was moving its feet. And they sometimes had auguries of chickens. This was my favorite. They would take food, throw it out into the yard or whatever, and then they would release a flock of chickens like this into the air. And if the chickens didn't go for the food, or did go for the food, or went in a huddle, or didn't go in a huddle, all of this had specific meaning. And they could read the future from the meaning of how these chickens behaved. There was also a lot to be said about the number of birds that might be there, and their positioning. So whether the bird was on the fence or on the eave of the house, whether the bird was accompanied by other birds or not, whether the birds were spaced out or together, all of these said something. And also the time of day, whether it was a morning bird, an afternoon, or a night bird. And this meant something. And in the Celtic tradition, there was a lot of bird augury around crows. And crows were specific to telling what was going to happen next. And so they would say, okay, if a crow lands on the eave of your house facing north, it means this. If it lands on the fence facing south, it means that. And the children even had nursery rhymes about crows, like 1 crow for sadness, 2 crows for mirth, 3 crows for a wedding, 4 crows for a birth, that kind of thing. They were very, very important. And in some of the old tales, you can see the aspect of the crow being incorporated into the story. So I thought tonight it would be kind of fun if we tried, and Philip had to help me pronounce this word, but this I love. Ornithomancy.
Ornithomancy.
Ornithomancy, which is bird divination. Ornithomancy. So if you're willing to go on a little journey with me tonight, we can practice ornithomancy and see if we can get an answer about our uncertain future. So in order to do this, I think it helps. This will be obviously a guided journey. I think it helps if you have a question in mind. You don't have to, but I think it helps if you have a question in your mind before we set off. So maybe take a minute, not a minute, but a few moments here to think about what is a pressing question for you. It doesn't have to be huge, or it could be, or it doesn't have to be minuscule either. Something that you want an answer for that you can't get from the TV, the news, the newspaper, the radio, the media, or any other way. So once you have your question, we'll start the journey. So,
just give me a few seconds.
So think about what it is that you really want to know about your future. Something that this can reveal to you about your future. Okay. And then close your eyes and center your mind and center your breath. Pay attention to your breath. Start breathing. Slow it down. Maybe breathe to the count of 4 coming in. Hold at the top for 2. Count of 4 going out. And then again, count of 4 coming in. Hold at the top. Count of 4 going out. And as you count 4 coming in, you're breathing in light and energy. Holding. Releasing through you and out from you. In with light and energy. Holding. Releasing through and out. And to the extent that's possible, continue your slow and rhythmic breathing as we go on this journey together. Feel yourself right where you are, in your own space, in your chair or on your couch, in your sacred space or your office. And without opening your eyes, imagine that there's a window in the side there, and look out the window and you can see the sky and the land beyond the window. And even as you're looking, the window becomes a door. And so you can find yourself going out the door and out into the outer world. And there's a path leading out, and it leads to a fence at the far end of your property there. So you walk toward the fence, feeling the day and letting the light into your consciousness, or if it's at night, looking at the stars. And when you get to the gate, there's a 3-step stile going over the top of the gate. So walk 1, 2, 3 to the top and stop there for a minute and look out. And you'll see before you that the path goes on for quite a ways. It goes on for quite a ways into the distance to where you can see a small copse of trees. And running alongside of the path, sometimes seen, sometimes unseen, is a very clear and calm brook or river that's just running calmly along the side there. And once you see that picture, you can start walking down the stile and onto that path. And start paying attention to your surroundings. What is the path made of? Is it made of dirt? Is it trodden grass? Is it little stones? What's on the side of the path? Is it an open field or a meadow? Is it a crop that's growing there? Is it just grassland? Can you feel or sense or even smell perhaps the water that's running alongside the stream, even though you may not be able to see it? Can you hear it? What kinds of vegetation are you passing? Is it hedgerows? Is it grasslands? Are there flowers? As you walk along this path, what are you seeing? What does the air feel like? Is it moist? Is it rainy? Is it dry? Is it cold? When you walk, is the side of the path smooth or is it muddy? Is the sky above your head clear or cloudy? If it's daytime, can you feel the sun and see the clouds moving? Is there a breeze? If it's nighttime, can you see the Milky Way above you or the stars? Pay very close attention to what you're seeing and feeling. Feel the earth under your feet as your feet take steps down this path. And after a time, you'll come to the trees that we saw in the distance. You'll come to a grove of trees. So continue on the path into the grove of trees and be aware of the trees, their own personalities, their differences. What kind of trees are they? Smooth? Are they rough? Are they lumpy? Are they tall and slender? You know, what is the presence of the trees? You know, can you feel the bark as you pass them? Can you hear their leaves rustling, perhaps, as you keep walking through the forest? It's not a big forest, and after a while, you're going to come to an opening, like a glen, a clearing. And if you look, you can see that the clearing is fenced along one side of it. And in the center of the clearing, there are several outcroppings or large stones placed around. And one of these stones actually calls to you to sit down, and it's almost like it's a chair made just for you, and you can feel the stone at your back, and you can feel the stone under your legs as it holds you. And just center yourself and feel at peace in this very special place. And let your thoughts drift as you feel more peaceful. And if you have a question, if you've brought a question with you, hold it gently in your mind. And then you hear the sound of wings. And when you look, a bird has come to the clearing and landed. And the bird seems quite comfortable with your presence, yet you hold very still and study the bird. Look at its feathers. Look at its wings. Look at its legs. Look at its feet. Look at its tail feathers. Look at the shape of its head. Look at its beak. Look at its eye. And feel that the bird and you share an awareness, that the bird has come here specifically to meet you. And enjoy this unspoken communication between the two of you. And if you have brought a question with you, you might ask the bird for an answer. This answer may be a word, or a song, or a movement. Listen and watch deeply. Hold yourself in silence for the answer from the bird. And at last, the bird lifts its wings and pushes off into the air. Watch it as it ascends and flies away, and keep your eyes on it until you can no longer see it anymore. And then take a few breaths and stand and turn back to the path. Find yourself walking back through the woods, acknowledging the trees along the way. When you come back into the open, you will sense the water alongside you as you walk. See it or smell it or hear it. When you come to the stile, climb the 3 steps and stand at the top and feel yourself strong and steady. Strong and steady. Come down the steps and walk back to your dwelling, taking note of your natural surroundings as you go and noticing any changes since you set forth in the atmosphere or what you see. And enter the doorway and come into the familiar surroundings of your own room, in your own chair, in your own space. And open your eyes. Hello. Open your eyes. And I hope that the bird gave you a wonderful message. I want to tell you a little bit about one that I did like this. I decided to go on a bird augury for real. I was in Princeton. I was fed up. I was frustrated. I was tired of being by myself. I felt feeling claustrophobic about where I was staying in lockdown, and I was pacing along, and I walked down to the path that there is between the canal and the river. There's a tow path that runs along. And I was striding along thinking, I want to know what's going to happen. I want to know, when can I get out of here? I want to know what's going to happen next. I want to know. And I came around a bend, and there, right in front of me, not 8 feet away from me, was a giant blue heron, the most beautiful bird. And it looked at me almost like it was saying, isn't it about time you got here? It didn't move. It just stood there. And I looked at it. And you know, herons don't really have a voice. Or if you have a voice, they're very odd. You almost can never hear a heron speak. It's very, very rare to hear one. Usually they're silent. And often they're standing in water, so the bird and the reflection of the bird run together, and it's very hard sometimes to see where the bird ends and the water begins. And that was the case with this heron. And they're so still. And I knew that that was the message for me from this heron. I knew it. I knew the message was, hold still, be still. There's great beauty right where you are now. And that made a tremendous difference in the days that came after. So I hope you got a wonderful message like that. And I hope if you want to share it, you will write to us, write a message on the message board or the comment board. And I wish you all a very happy day. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you so much, Robert. That was really lovely.
Thank you.
That was lovely. And of course, birds, one of the features of the lockdown, that one of the first things that people started talking about. Ooh, can I try your glasses on?
Yeah, of course.
One of the things that people started talking about was the bird song. It was so much more prevalent during lockdown than it was beforehand, because it was quiet, wonderfully quiet. So thank you so much. That was really lovely.
Did you see a bird?
Yes, I did.
What was
Yes.
it?
It was a robin redbreast.
How
Yeah,
nice.
it was very nice. And it connected me to a real feeling of love, warmth and love. So I'm great. Lovely to see your comments. That's fantastic. Shame to see you go, but we've got to see you go. Goodbye. Have a wonderful evening, a wonderful week, and I'll see you again next Monday. And Roma and I will make tea, and we'll come back and read your comments. So do type in any comments you want to make. Good. Okay. Lots and lots of love. Many blessings.
Yes,
see you
bye-bye.
next week. Bye.